Welcome back guys on my YouTube channel. Today I'm with the brand new GasGas ES 700. A lot of you have asked me a review about this bike and what is my opinion. On this bike we will also do a rally build, so stay tuned for that and subscribe to the channel. But let's start with a bike that has a long history, even though GasGas is the first time that does a 700cc bike, but this shares the same frame and engine as the KTM 690 and the Husqvarna 701. You might think then it's gonna be practically the same bike, but from a riding point of view, riding feeling point of view, it feels a bit different, and I didn't really expect this. So today I want to focus on what was my sensation, my feeling when riding it, and I have to say I really enjoyed this bike. The GasGas has 74 horsepower and a big tank that holds 13.5 liters. It's more similar to the KTM 690, also looking at the plastics and the flow, because the seat doesn't go also on the side like the 701. So the first feeling is it feels slimmer than the 701 and very similar to the KTM 690. The seat, in my opinion, is the most comfortable of the three brands. The reason for this is the material used for the seat cover. It's not as rigid and it's softer compared to the other bikes, but also it feels like the foam is a bit softer and that there is a bit more foam to this seat. Also, it's pretty wide, so when you're sitting down and cruising around, I found it really comfortable. I really like the red frame and the red plastics. This bike has the quick shifter, it has the ABS, it has the traction control and the dual map, like all the other bikes. Works really well. You can feel the difference between the two maps. The ABS during the test, I almost always kept it off because off-road, I don't want to have it neither on the rear nor the front. But there is the option if you want to have it only on the front and have the rear without it.
We're out riding and I almost forgot to tell you one detail that I appreciated of the OEM dashboard is the fact that you have the gear. It tells you what gear you're in. I think this is super useful when riding, and sometimes I look at it, so good to have and in this way sometimes you discover how many gears your bike has, and this bike has 6 gears.
Before you start asking me in the comments about my mount for the GPS, I'll quickly show it to you. It's the Garmin Montana. You can put here the Montana 600 series or the 700 series or any other tablet or phone, thanks to this mount that's sold by Rebel Exports. I personally designed it, so go and buy it. But let's start going into the details with the feelings I had on this bike and why I really enjoyed it. First of all, I think this is the only real dual sport bike in the market. The reason for this is I see now that most people either own 2 bikes, so like a 450 Enduro bike and maybe a bigger adventure bike like the 790, 890, but not everyone can afford to have 2 bikes. The reason for 2 bikes is because if you want to travel, you use an adventure bike, and if you want to go on trails, you use an Enduro bike. The reality is that a bike like the GasGas ES 700 fits in between, and it can satisfy everyone that don't wanna have 2 bikes and have to swap from one bike to the other. It's all in one bike. That was the feeling I had when I set off, because I was very comfortable on the normal road, on the asphalt. But then when I started going on the trails, I went through some very technical sections and it felt almost like an Enduro bike. Of course, it's a bit more heavier, so if I have to turn it around, like if I go on the wrong road and a small trail and I need to turn it around, I'll have a bit more fatigue in turning around the bike. But once you're set off and you're going, even when you're in big ruts and really Enduro style tracks, the bike feels very easy to handle, very well balanced, because the weight is pretty down low. Even when you're changing direction, it's very agile and fun. It's just so much fun. Furthermore, having a seat this long and providing a good compromise of grip and comfort lets me move on the bike very easily. How the plastics are designed, they're very slim and everything is flat, so you can really move back and forth easily. The frame feels very solid, very, very stable, especially on the fast section. A big difference I didn't expect to feel, if I compare it like with the 690, was the front fork. In my opinion, on the GasGas, it's better. I don't know if it's because of the bikes I tried, I tested, but it felt a bit stiffer. So when I was pushing a bit and for my weight, I had much more confidence on the front end of the bike. But there is one important thing I need to point out, which we can say it's sort of a downside of this bike, but it's really not, is the tires. The tires that it comes with when you buy this bike, they're fine. You can see in the video, in all the B-rolls, that I was able to ride everything, but they're more for a dual purpose use and ideal for asphalt and gravel roads. So if you want to do enduro and go in the mud and more technical section, they don't provide a great grip due to the design of the knobs of the tires. You'll see that there was one uphill where we were shooting a video and I had to start over again the bike going uphill. It was a bit wet and the rear wheel was skidding all over the place. That's because of the tire. I think, this is not a big deal, because most times we buy a brand new bike and the first thing we do, we change the tires because we want to use the tires we have much more confidence with. But it's something I wanted to point out so that you know that if you buy this bike and you maybe plan on attending immediately a rally, maybe you want a more off-road tire. On the asphalt, it worked great, so depends on the use you want to do. The GasGas ES 700 is a really solid bike, incredible fun, but what it motivates me to do is to explore, because it's the perfect bike where you can go out with no fixed destination. You just get your gear on, go out on the road, and any trail, any track you see, you can go explore it without being worried that if it's a dead-end road, it will be a big problem to go back. Like if you go on big adventure bikes, sometimes you're a bit scared to explore new roads because the trail could become too much tight and so on. With the GasGas, I can do everything, absolutely everything. This is the selling point for me, the versatility of this bike, because I can just gear up, go out and, spend the day, enjoy it, and end up who knows where and finding new trails. For sure, for adventure riding, putting a fairing, a rally kit, that will help with the air protection when you're going on the highway, even though usually real adventure riders almost never go on the highway and like to go on the twisty roads. But this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put a nav tower and a fairing on this bike, and then I'll show you again the bike with the rally kit on, so you can tell me what you think. Other details I appreciated was the quick shifter. It was very, very easy to change gears up and down. As soon as you touch with the boot, the gear lever, it just changes gear, and it makes it really comfortable for riding because you don't have to put a lot of pressure on it. But also the clutch is extremely, extremely soft, so you don't get fatigue after going on very slow trails where all the time you're using the clutch. It's super, super soft. All is protected by these handguards that are the same you find on the KTM 690 and on the KTM EXC bikes, but they must have changed the material over the years, because years ago they were more rigid. Now look how flexible they are. It might be a minor detail, but these are details I really like, because I know that even if I crash, it's not that every crash I'm gonna break the handguards. If I compare them with the 701 handguards, I feel these are more reliable and can sustain much more crashes than those. Another very useful detail is the clamp-on grips. They're not glued on like on the KTM and on the Husqvarna 701 and 690, I think. Here you'll just need to unscrew them in case you damage them in order to change them. One thing I must say is that other than the fact that there is also a supermoto version of this bike, one thing that amazed me is how easy you can pull off really long wheelies with this bike. It just goes up so easily. I was like in third gear, just touch a bit the clutch and the bike goes up straight. And how the power delivery comes to the throttle, then it's so easy to manage the power delivery through the throttle that you can pull off really long wheelies even without being a real expert. But of course, don't go now and try and pull off wheelies if you never did and then blame me for crashing. I'm saying if you have a bit of experience with the 700 GasGas, you can pull off amazing wheelies, and I had so much fun with this bike. Luckily, I have this bike in the workshop for quite a bit, so I'm sure I'm gonna go out and use it more because it's the perfect dual sport bike. The brakes on this bike are very modular. I had a very good feeling on the front lever, and even though we had this almost road tire, I was able to adjust my braking pressure in order not to have the front end of the bike close down on me and crash. Once again, I repeat, I preferred a lot the suspension on the GasGas compared to the 701 and 690. I don't know if it's something to do with different springs inside, but the feeling was really good. Also, the GasGas being a brand new bike with a brand new design, I don't know, I like it more. The KTM 690 Enduro and the GasGas ES 700 are very similar in feeling. The 701 Husqvarna is a bit different due to the different seat and to the plastic design, a bit more classical. I prefer the looks of the GasGas. Red and white is something that hasn't been seen that much, like the orange or the white and yellow. Personally, I'm gonna use this bike a bit because I wanna go explore trails, so that is what I'm gonna do. I want to get some GPX tracks to then design a road book. And of all the bikes I have access to here in the workshop, I've chosen this to be my exploration bike. Another very important detail is the fuel autonomy. Having 13.5 liters and having a 690 engine makes the fuel autonomy really good. We went to shoot the whole day, up and down everywhere, and never the fuel reserve turned on. I personally don't feel you need a bigger tank because if we compare it with other adventure bikes, the fuel consumption, in my opinion, is a bit lower. I don't have on the OEM dashboard the exact consumption average, but that was my feeling. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this bike, if you like it. Personally, I loved it. I really liked it. I want to own one. I think for me, this would be a really good bike to have in the workshop because taking always customers to try their bikes once I finish building them. This is a bike that I don't have to worry much about it. 450 Enduro, problem is has much more maintenance, much more servicing to do, whereas this bike, once you clean the air filter and do a few oil changes every now and then, there's not much to do to it. So big point to its favor. What else to say? Stay tuned to see then the rally build on this bike. We will do a rally build in the GasGas style. If you compare GasGas, KTM and Husqvarna, GasGas bikes are a bit cheaper than KTM and Husqvarna. The reason for this is there are just minor refinements and details that to me don't make such a difference, that don't come OEM on the GasGas. For example, the rims are standard gray, they're not black, but that's something you can change. And to me, it doesn't really bother me to have gray rims because these get ruined much less than the black rims, where as soon as you change tire, if you go with the lever, it's very easy to scratch. For sure, black, they look better. Other small refinements are like the clutch cover. It feels a bit cheaper, even though it's the same clutch cover, but it doesn't have the same coating as the KTM or as the Husqvarna 701. This means I will go for a simple setup in order to think to those adventure riders that can't afford to have two different bikes, an enduro and an adventure bike, and that want to have the essential to be able to go and take part in a rally or in an adventure riding event. We will just put the tower, maybe with a tablet or with a GPS, nothing more, and I'll show it to you soon. Be sure to subscribe, follow me on Instagram for live updates, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!